Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Neha and I'm an incoming first year medical student. In today's video, we are going to be going through how to get research opportunities. So I did wet lab research back in high school and I did clinical research in university. So I'm going to be going through how to get that wet lab research that's a lot harder to get when you are younger. So if you're a high schooler or undergrad, definitely stay tuned. So the way to get these research opportunities when you don't have any connections is to cold email. So cold emailing is when you email a bunch of people who don't know you and you are hoping to get some sort of opportunity in their lab or, shadowing or whatever. And the key to cold emailing is the work that you put in before you send that email. And so in today's video, we are going to be going through how to write those cold emails, and we'll also be going through a template cold email. So starting off, how to get research in labs. So you basically have to convince an adult that you are capable and competent enough to be working in their lab, whether it be washing dishes or actually having your own project. So I have a list next to me, so I'm going to be reading off of it just so I don't forget anything. So the first step is to ask your peers or see if your high school or college has a research program. So back in high school, there were definitely not many research opportunities that I could find through my high school, but I did notice that some of my friends went ahead and chose mentors based off of their friends' mentors. So maybe their friend graduated and that mentor was free, and so another friend would contact that person and get research underneath them. So that would probably be the easiest way. And if not that, it's really important to go ahead and ask your teachers and professors. So I really underestimated the value of my science teachers back when I was in high school, but I did have a friend who asked one of our science teachers for some connections, and they were able to set up this mentorship. Together, they had some really successful projects. So I think that's really important, and a lot of us in high school didn't really think about that. So ask your teachers, ask them to see if they know anybody. They're probably gonna know at least one person in whatever field you wanna go into, and I'm sure they can help you guys get connected. If you're in college, it's important to ask your professors first. A lot of professors already have their own research going on. So before you ask a professor though, I would definitely go online and look up to see what their research is actually being done in. Make sure you're actually interested in that research. If that professor is not doing research that you are interested in, maybe you can look up one of their colleagues and you can ask the professor after class or during office hours if they would be able to connect you to whoever. So a huge step is do not be afraid of looking around. I personally would not commit to the first project that you get. Definitely look around, see what you might be interested in. Worst thing you could do is start at a lab and not really be passionate about their research, and then you get bored or whatever, and you want to be having some meaningful experiences. Another thing you can do is look up nearby universities if you are a high school student. So these universities will typically have those research programs, and while you might be too young to join those programs, you can go ahead and look up Sorry, my dad's opening the garage. You could still look up the faculty for those programs, see who's, the president of the program and whatnot, and look up those faculty, see what research they're doing, see if you're interested, and go ahead and reach out to them. Because even if the program is not ongoing, so say you're contacting a person in fall when it's a summer program, they can still help you find opportunities elsewhere. Those people might still have opportunities in their lab, and they would also maybe be more likely to help connect you to the right people because they're already faculty on a research program, so they probably like working with students. That's the first step, is really just figuring out who to contact. If you have no connections and you have no people to contact to get any connections, the next step is to start cold emailing. Whenever you look up universities, that is when you need to really focus on what kind of research you want to be doing. It can be really exhausting to look up science opportunities at so-and-so university. There's going to be so many positions open, so you need to figure out what kind of research you are looking for. Another thing you should kind of remember is that you might not be doing exactly what research you want to be doing, even if you join the perfect lab. They might not want to trust you with doing your own project. So definitely be a little bit flexible, but don't go and do a project in something completely random that you are not interested in. For the cold emailing part, the first thing you're going to do is look up their online profile. So these universities have databases where they list all of their faculty. They'll have their name, their contact information. They'll usually have a list of their pubs and their most recent publications. So even if you're looking at not even a university, but say like a hospital or wherever, a research institute, you should definitely go ahead, read over their profile, and take note of their most recent projects, and go ahead and read over the abstract of their most recent projects. And when you go over the list of their publications, highlight the names of their projects. Sometimes researchers have like hundreds of publications and you're not going to have time to see what publications they had back in the 80s. But if you at least know the title, maybe you can just scroll through, find common themes. Very rarely will a researcher be doing something and then doing something completely different. Once you've made a list of the researcher, their most recent publications, and then just a few titles, whatever themes you could find from their older publications, go ahead and go through that list and see which researchers have projects that you are actually interested in. Once you have a shortened list, I would recommend that you go to each of those researchers' most recent publications and try to read the entire paper. Now, this might be really hard because sometimes researchers' papers are written in a way that you cannot really understand unless you have prior background knowledge on that topic. Whenever you go over their most recent publication, try to summarize each project in a few sentences and write down whatever questions you have. Now, that's really important because to have questions on something means that you at least understand that topic to some degree. And so if you ask that researcher a question, they will automatically think, oh, okay, this person has actually read over my publication and has tried to understand the concepts in it. Lastly, take note of what interests you in their research. Okay, so once you have this list, you have all these names, it's kind of shortened down, you have some projects written down that you're interested in, go ahead and write down the researcher's assistants. So most of the time you will not be contacting the PI in the lab, and if you do contact the PI in the lab, I doubt you're gonna get a response as fast as if you contact one of the research assistants, or sometimes researchers even have secretaries, so that would be somebody to email. When you contact those people, they're more likely to forward your message. Say the researcher doesn't respond, you can go ahead, contact the secretary, whatever, so that way you're not really annoying the PI as much, and you wanna kind of reduce that early on. So for the actual email, being brief is absolutely key. You do not want to have a 5-paragraph email because whoever's reading it, the PI researcher, whoever, they're not going to have time to read through your full email. So really the first paragraph is where you're going to ask your most important questions, and your first paragraph is where you're actually going to hook them into your email. So right now I'm going to pull up the cold email that I used when I was applying to different research positions, and we can use that as an example. Okay, so right now I've gone ahead and pulled up the email that I sent to multiple people. So to give you a ballpark number, I emailed about 30 people at one institution and about 40 people at another institution. So clearly this took me a really long time. And do I think you need to send 30 to 40 emails to get a response? No, I don't think so. But I know that the more people that you email, the more likely you're going to get a response. And if you're a high schooler, it's going to be really hard to get that response if you're trying to do, real research. And if you're an undergrad, I would definitely not recommend emailing 70 people. I think if you email just at least maybe 10, I think you should be able to get a solid amount of responses. So I emailed that many people, and I emailed at different institutions because I didn't really understand the process of getting research at these different kinds of institutions, like the paperwork and if they'll even take students as young as me. I made the header request for volunteer/unpaid internship position. By putting that in the title, these researchers already know that I'm not trying to ask for a paid research position. I'm simply trying to get exposure in the field. That being the title, they're probably more likely to read your email. In my email, I basically just said, hello, whoever. My name is Neha. I am this grade, going to this high school. Recently, I became aware of your faculty position at blank. Given my interest in the field blank, I read over some of your publications and found your research to be very compelling. That already was like 3 sentences. And I put down like, I have been competing in science fair for X amount of years, and then I went ahead and put down like, my long-term goal is to be a pediatric oncologist. Back then I wanted to be a pediatric oncologist. Owing to my long-term goal, my passion is in oncology and disease-related research. Therefore, I would love to obtain some experience as a volunteer/unpaid intern this upcoming year in your lab under your mentorship. And then I went ahead and just said, attached to this email is my resume to give you a feel for my experience. I would appreciate a response regarding this request. If you would have further questions, please do not hesitate to contact me via email or phone listed below. Then I listed my email and phone. So after all of this, basically this researcher now knows how old I am, what I'm aspiring to be, why their research is compelling to me. I attached my resume, and it was a shortened resume just showing my interest in science. Obviously, if this is the first research opportunity that you are looking for, you might not have a longer resume. So what I would do is go ahead and insert those questions that you had and also what interested you about the research. Put more specific details in your email if you don't have a resume to attach. So that would be another way to hook them into responding to you. Alrighty everyone, so that was the entire video about how to get research via cold emailing. And so this was a technique I had to use back in high school. This also works for undergrad if you don't have any connections like that. Some people are privileged and have those connections, and some people are not as privileged and they need to go cold emailing. But do not be discouraged. I sent so many emails, like, say 70 emails, and I only got a handful of responses. If I were you guys, I would try to send them out in 2 waves. That way, if say your top 20 researchers don't respond, then you can go ahead and email the next 10, and so on and so on, if you are planning on emailing very broadly like I was. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I will be making more videos like this about BSMD, about my medical school journey, and if you leave a comment down below, I will respond to every comment that I receive. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.
If I could take you up in paradise, I would. If you would tell me